Spirit says do. 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 Spirit says flowing down, down, down to my soul. Come into the healing rivers, rivers of grace. Come into the healing rivers, rivers of grace. Come into the healing rivers, rivers of grace, flowing down, down, down to my soul. Love shines in the healing rivers, rivers of grace. Love shines in the healing rivers, rivers of grace. Love shines in the healing rivers, rivers of grace, flowing down, down, down to my soul. Forgiveness flows in these rivers, rivers of grace. Forgiveness flows in these rivers, rivers of grace. Forgiveness flows in these rivers, rivers of grace, flowing down, down, down to my soul. Come bathe in the healing rivers, rivers of grace. Come bathe in the healing rivers, rivers of grace. Come bathe in the healing rivers, rivers of grace, flowing down, down, down to my soul.
Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Boulder. Hello, my name's Fred Cole, and I'll be the worship leader for this morning's service. What an exciting Sunday for us to be here. We're still basking in the glow surrounding our call to a new settled minister, Reverend David Schwartz. It's Father's Day. It's the summer solstice at 9:32. And today is the day that we will give a rousing UUC-based send-off to Reverend Jeremy Nickel. We welcome all at the Unitarian Universalist Church of Boulder. If you are a new visitor, please email our office manager, Amy Sin, and let her know how you found us. You will find her email in the Zoom chat. Our church website also has a great deal of information about our programs and activities. We UUs are always proud of our sources. So what could be more appropriate as a source than a coffee cup? Now this one was given to me on a Father's Day by children that are now in their 50s. We all know that the ideas of who can be a father have changed over the intervening years. So I hope that whoever you are, if you father, you will find yourself in here as well. What is a father? A male parent who can make a living, make believe, make a decision, make a fire, make dinner, make someone happy, and always make his family proud. He's one who will take a stand, take your word, take an interest, take the trouble, take your part, take charge, and always take the time to listen. He's a man who can tell a joke, can tell a story, can tell a curveball from a slider, can tell when you're telling the truth, and he'll tell you he loves you and really mean it. Let us come together now here in sacred space as we begin this morning's worship. Please ensure your microphones remain muted.
Thank you, Fred. I'm still working on telling a curveball from a slider. That is a tough bar for fatherhood there, but I'm working on it. Thank you, Fred. Thank you for all your wisdom and advice through this year, and for everyone who's been with me and helped me get to know you all on this abbreviated time schedule. Really nice to have this final Sunday with you here on Father's Day. I've been called a lot of things in my life, and father might be my favorite. So really nice to share this with all of you. And as we prepare our hearts and minds for worship, I invite you to hear these words of my colleague, Reverend Elizabeth Mount, who wrote, quote, "From our very first breath, we reach out. Co-regulation, not self-regulation, is in our nature. We find our cues from the sun and the moon, from each parent and caregiver. We find our place in this great turning planet by turning to one another, generation to generation. We awaken to the dawn and fall asleep at the evening's end. Our life's journey is part of something greater, something simple, something divine. A flame cannot be lit without a spark. A life cannot begin without the air. And we cannot begin to find ourselves without love. May we reach out to one another. May we offer love and nurturing care. May we join together in celebration of the interdependence of our lives. In this spirit, let us worship together. May it be so. Ashe.
Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in
If you have a personal chalice or candle near your computer, please get ready to light it. We invite you to type in the chat box where your chalice is being lit, the street or neighborhood, or what city if you're joining us from beyond Boulder County. Reverend Jeremy Nickel will light this morning's chalice.
Throughout my life so far, Unitarian Universalism has meant very different things to me through different chapters. As a child growing up outside of Boston, our local UU church was the place I had to go on Sunday. It wasn't so bad. The building was fun to explore. We talked about all kinds of interesting things, and my father led one of the most engaging youth programs a church has ever known. Later, I would realize that the coming of age program and sex ed curriculum I experienced within that community were foundational to who I would become. As many do, I wandered away from institutional religion during my teens and early 20s, running with the Quakers for a time, discovering Buddhism for myself while living in Nepal, and then absolutely devouring the philosophy and religion departments in college. When I found myself in seminary a few years later, looking at ordination, I was somewhat surprised to realize that Unitarian Universalism not only still felt like home, but also was the only denomination that would take my adventurous theology seriously. Serving a congregation was another massive shift. Suddenly, it wasn't about my journey anymore, but supporting the spiritual lives of others. In this chapter, I've learned to stand in awe of the lay leaders that time and time again show up to make all that we do possible. After my first settled ministry, I was, like many ministers after their first call, exhausted and more in touch with what was hard about ministry than what I loved about Unitarian Universalism. After a few years away, and before I even knew I was ready to serve again, you all called me. And this surprising ministry here with you all at UUCB, though short, has been sweet and healing, and a beautiful reminder of what I love about both the odd and wondrous calling of ministry, as well as our strange but beautiful Unitarian Universalism. Today, one last time as your lead minister, from South Boulder, just off of Table Mesa, I light my chalice with all of you in gracious thanks for all that we have shared during this weird and unforgettable year. May it be so. Ashe.
We now invite all of those gathered, wherever you may be, join together in fellowship and community as we say aloud our congregation's covenant. We gather in fellowship
to speak
to
to
each other,
to reach out and touch one another, to care with each other, and to seek the truth divine. So be it.
You'll have an opportunity to respond to Reverend Nickel in just a few moments. But first, in this deep connection with all of life, let us tune in to our own joys and concerns and what is on your mind and in your heart today. In the quiet of your own thoughts, lift up all that weighs on you, grief, worry, pain, whatever it is. Let us hold this and each other in silence. Turn your minds and hearts to those we love, holding them with love, acknowledging their painful challenges and possible sufferings. I invite you now to share your concerns in the chat box. I will name a few of them. in this container of love and care. Sharon is very concerned about her daughter Lorraine's health. We offer love and witness to all who are suffering. I invite you now to bring to mind and bring into your heart the things for which you are grateful and that bring you joy, the large and small celebrations of our lives. You may continue to post in the chat box. Oh yes, Catherine says her joy is her children. And for Laurel, Sepala Etra, blessings on the birth of our grandson, Kabar Chakorti, this past Tuesday. Several are so happy that we've called Reverend David Short. Alan Davis continues to care for and be concerned about his neighbor, Bill Kalfas. Steve Todd's oldest granddaughter, who's going to be married to a great guy on Saturday. A new grandbaby is due any minute to Lillian, 4 years after their first one. Breathing is now a blessing. The air quality has improved, yes. I know, a lot of pollen this year. It is with joy that we celebrate for all these blessings and concerns, as well as those that remain silently on our hearts. We hold this compassionate space with love. Thank you for all the ways that you bless each other. Now, if you have a special message that you'd like to share with Reverend Jeremy Nickel, let's take a moment and allow you to convey those thoughts. And yes, I know he's right here and he's able to read them, but we will also compile them into a special thank you card for him. We'll have a short musical interlude while you write.
Well, thank you for all those words. It's just a beautiful thing to have been a part of this congregation for the last 10 months. On this Father's Day, I invite you to drop into this time of prayer and meditation with your thoughts about fathers. I'm going to read a meditation adapted from my colleague, Mike Johnson. As we find a place of stillness and presence, I invite you into this period of quiet. Close your eyes if you wish. Get comfortable in your seat. Think about the father figure you carry in your heart. I invite you to remember the gifts and the wounds you received from that person or persons. If any feelings come up, just breathe deeply and honor those feelings as a connection with your own heart. As you continue to hold those thoughts in your mind, I invite you to listen to some fathering words that we just don't get to hear often enough. These words I speak are for you. I love you just the way you are. I have confidence in you. You can achieve your goals. I will stand behind you. You can depend on me. I am so proud of you. Don't forget to stand up for yourself. Your opinions and feelings are important. I have faith in you. When you are ready, I invite you to breathe deeply 3 times and open your eyes. Happy Father's Day. Please enjoy this special music from Robin Miller.
Leader in the COVID place, leader with the scary face. What to do, where to go, situation really blows. Donald Rumsfeld, unknown number, really minds are both off the map. New adventures, strap ourselves in. Individuals, not the key, for the laundry. Name our values, core values consciously. Jesus was a weirdo, but kinda in the know. Rugged individualist who needs to know quiet us. You never have fire. It was very fun. pilgrim wins. White supremacy just sneaks right in. Other stories can survive. Pretty white Thanksgiving life. Good mind means slavery. It's just crazy. Unerase, unignore, reimagine Holocaust. Who is America for? Let's retell this evermore. United by fire. We were very sorry that we needed glory. United by fire. We ain't tried to light it and we have to find it. Happiness is holiness, the Dalai Lama speaking. Find it, train our minds, happy can be a peace. Memocide memory, limits are becoming. Human memory feels true, please don't be deceived. The Bible is a metaphor, nothing less, nothing more. Storytelling paramount, pedagogic needs. Option masculinity wasn't pride, what a lie. Patriarchic is not good, abolish it, but we should. United on fire. It was very clear that we needed glory. United on fire. But when you are gone, it was you and I wanna know. United on fire. It was very clear that we needed glory. United on fire. We had tried to light it and you helped us find it. United on fire. It was very clear that we needed glory. United on fire. We had tried to light it and you helped us find it. United on fire. It was very smoldering for community glory.
I think we'll have to put that on our website. These words this morning from Francois Auguste de Chateaubriand. A master in the art of living draws no sharp distinction between his work and his play, his labor and his leisure, his mind and his body, his education or his recreation. He hardly knows which is which. He simply pursues his vision of excellence through whatever he is doing and leaves others to determine whether he is working or playing. To himself, he always appears to be doing both. So ends the reading.
Wow. Well, first, I just have to say, Robin, that was absolutely incredible. I loved every second of it. I will definitely have to take a few more read throughs. Like the original, I think I need to really fully take in all those lyrics. Wow. Thank you. That was fun. Right. It will move us to our sermon, my final message with you. And our monthly theme is playing, which was just, I thought, perfect for what I wanted to share with you all on this last Sunday together. I love playing. When I was a child, I could play forever. I could play outside with neighborhood friends, enjoying endless games of capture the flag or kickball, soccer, baseball, or make-believe games down at the lake. I could also play inside, playing house or dress up with my sister, or hide and seek with friends, or all by myself, quite happily, for hours and hours, setting up great cities of blocks, or building incredible flying vehicles out of my Legos, or just simply daydreaming action-packed adventures in my mind. What was difficult for me was to stop playing and to adhere to those rules and regulations of school and all the things that start to come at you as your childhood ends. People learn differently. And for me, exploring ideas through play has always worked better than reading a book or hearing a lecture from someone on the subject. I need to enter the topic with my body, to feel it and see it and experience it from the inside out to really understand it. Albert Einstein said that play is the highest form of research. And I think that captures play's power very well. When we are serious, we're more likely to be rigid, following the rules, boxed in by what already is. But when we are playing, we let our imagination lead us beyond what we already know is possible. There is a freedom and limitless feeling to play. This is hardly new info. In fact, way back in 1962, the journal Childhood Education published an article titled "Play is Education," which argued that, quote, all play is associated with intense thought activity and rapid intellectual growth, unquote. So we've known for generations that play is a scientifically verified way to grow and let our synapses make new connections. Yet it hardly ever gets the credit it's due. And while I got the same societal cues as everyone else to stop playing and get serious about life sometime in my early teens, I decided not to listen. And I do think I've learned just as much from playing as I have from traditional education. And I believe learned it a whole lot better. And while play is not given the credit it deserves, I'm hardly alone in seeing the incredible and transformative power of play, as I learned when I ran into a group called Interplay during my seminary years in Berkeley, California, a community that loudly proclaims to anyone that will listen that play is serious business and can be a central component to a happy spiritual life, and perhaps more apt for us today, an important part of a healthy spiritual community. As they say on their website, quote, Interplay is devoted to fun. It teaches the language and ethic of play in a deep and powerful way. If you are convinced that seriousness is the path to inner wisdom, then you might want to look elsewhere. If you would like to become a recovering serious person, then Interplay might be for you, unquote. Well, I'll tell you what, Interplay was definitely for me. In my first seminary class that I took from them, I learned through a series of movement and sound-based games to stop thinking so much and rather to tap back into what I naturally knew so well as a kid, to play and let the Spirit freely move through me. But I'll be honest, it was scary. It challenged a number of my deeply ingrained and unconscious rules from internalized white supremacy and male toxic culture, that I needed to be perfect and contained and well thought out, whereas this was vulnerable and messy and full of things I was not good at. And it turns out nothing I did in seminary was as important to my ministry as learning and playing with Interplay. Now, when it comes to church, play probably isn't the first word you think of, but I believe that it should be. That's not to say that the ultimate aim of our spiritual community is not serious business, because it absolutely is. But I strongly maintain that the more we can play together, the more we can become recovering serious people, the better we will be at achieving those serious goals, and the more fun we will have doing it. As many of you know, or some of you will surprisingly learn right now, my other job that I will be returning to on a full-time basis when I finish my time with you all in a few weeks is leading a spiritual community that exists only in virtual reality, which is pretty weird. So let me tell you a little bit about that. For those of you who haven't experienced the latest generation of virtual reality equipment, basically people from around the world put on a VR headset that looks like a set of thick 1980s ski goggles, When you have these goggles on, they allow you to enter worlds that people create, virtual worlds. And when you turn your head in real life, thanks to the magic of the goggles, you turn your head in virtual reality and you see a whole new world around you, everywhere you look, as if you are fully in it, with other people too. People move around in these virtual worlds with avatar bodies that they can make to look as much or as little as they look in real life as they choose. And you see out of the eyes of your avatar, and other people see your avatar walking around and talking in these worlds. And in one platform that supports virtual reality, I have slowly, over the last 4 years, founded and grown a spiritual community called Evolver. And while Evolver is in many ways like a spiritual community that you would recognize, with large weekly events for groups that meet regularly, with a small group ministry program we call Circles, with pastoral care and social events too, we have also had to, in large part, reimagine what a spiritual community in virtual reality should look like, because we are, after all, in virtual reality. Things are possible there that just aren't in real life. Let me give you a bit of an example. For many years before Evolver, as part of my real life UU ministry, I've led a meditation about the phenomenon known as the overview effect. The overview effect is what they call the shift in consciousness that astronauts experience when they see the Earth from outer space. They report a permanent shift in consciousness away from the individual and towards the collective. And I have been leading a meditation for a long time, a guided meditation where I invite listeners to use the incredible power of their imagination to imagine that they're floating off the surface of the Earth and eventually seeing it far down below them. It was powered by the listener's imagination, but not in VR. In VR, we built a world which allows groups of avatars to slowly float off the surface of Earth and up into outer space, where they actually experience the overview effect for themselves, eventually looking down at our planet from about the distance of the International Space Station, all while meditating with people from around the world. I hope you followed some of that. It's pretty powerful stuff, but not at first. At first, it was a hot mess, as the kids, I don't know if the kids really say that anymore, actually, but it was a hot mess. The first several times we tried to use this new world in virtual reality with a live audience, we experienced major meltdowns, failures at a structural level that would leave all of the participants stranded, floating helplessly in the middle of a vast nothingness. It was anxious. It was definitely not what we were going for. But it was also okay. It was expected even. Because when we are trying out new things like this overview effect experience for the first time in virtual reality, we always have what we call a play test, where we invite everyone to come and experience the new world with the explicit knowledge that we will break it, that things will go wrong, and that that's okay. And when we do break things, we learn something about how to make it better. And honestly, when it's part of the plan, breaking things can be a lot of fun. But I learned to play test the hard way. After debuting our first few worlds in virtual reality with no such practice, I was so worried that something would go wrong, it was all I could think about. And then, when things inevitably did go wrong, I was embarrassed and anxious, which isn't exactly the greatest posture for learning, and it is certainly not fun. But then I noticed that when anyone else in tech rolled out something new publicly, It was only after months of private beta testing and many public play tests to ensure it was ready for prime time. It was an important shift for my congregation. So, how does this apply to all of you and this congregation? Well, in many ways, for a Unitarian Universalist congregation, a new lead minister is the shiniest new object of all. After an exhaustive shopping trip comparing competing models lasting over a year, with expectations sky high, after identifying and calling our choice, we then hold an installation, an interesting choice of words, for our brand spanking new out of the box minister, and expect them to function like a brand new Maytag washer for many years to come. And of course, with each new minister, we again bring our hopes, our expectations to the table, imagining how this person's ministry will unfold. Instead of playing with them, many congregations expect to be able to press the play button and have the new minister function just like they expect. And let's face it, we all have some archetypal idea of what a minister should do and be good at based on our real life experiences with past ministers. Maybe for you, the bar was set by Reverend Kelly, or further back to Reverend Howell, or maybe it's a minister from another congregation or denomination even. I think a very common mistake that a congregation makes at the individual and system level is to assume they know what shape and form a new ministry will take. To assume that they know what a minister will be good at or want to do, and to assume they know what a minister will be bad at and not want to do. I don't know much about the future, but I absolutely guarantee you that all of these expectations will prevent you all from finding out what Reverend David's ministry can uniquely be here at its best. And so I want to invite you all to play with Reverend David. I'm not talking pranks here, okay? I'm talking play with him. Not for a few days, not for a few weeks or few months, but for years. And maybe some things will even break along the way. But if you're playing, you don't have to worry, because it's all part of the learning. We all hope that this new ministry will be a substantial one. Many major tasks lie on the horizon, from returning strong from the pandemic chapter of the early 21st century, to questions about the church building, and of course, the continued support of Ingrid and her family, and so much more. And while these serious issues do lay just around the corner, I invite you to, as best as you can, play your way through them. To not be rigid and full of specific expectations for Reverend David and the future of this congregation, but instead to give him and each other the space and time to meet again, so that he can get to know this congregation, its unique culture and talents and hopes and dreams. As the beloved Mr. Rogers said, quote, "Children's play is not just kid stuff. Children's play is rather the stuff of most future inventions," unquote. Seriousness will get you somewhere, but instead, why not play your way to somewhere beyond your dreams? May it be so. Ashe.
Some Unitarian congregations, primarily old line churches, have a tradition of presenting a Jefferson Cup in recognition of special efforts or outstanding contributions either to their community or to the Unitarian Universalist movement. For some, like First Universalist in Denver, the the presentation of a Jefferson Cup is an annual event. For others, it is done whenever a proper occasion arises. And today is one of those proper occasions. Now, there's some very interesting history behind the Jefferson Cup, but I won't go into it right now. However, you can read more about it in this week's newsletter, The Messenger, on Friday. Jeremy, would you join me? Hi.
Brought a friend too.
Oh, good. Oh. Jeremy, you have served us well through a pandemic, which we have not only survived, but one in which we have also thrived. Your answer to our call 10 months ago, and you had the understanding of the challenges you'd be facing, your answer was still yes. And for that, we thank you. It is truly an honor and my pleasure to be able to present to you this Jefferson Cup on behalf of the Board of Trustees, our UUCB staff, the members of the Unitarian Universalist Church of Boulder. You've been a true blessing to this church and community. Again, we thank you.
What do you know? Well, thank you, Fred, and to the entire congregation, to the leadership of this congregation, both official and unofficial, to my my buddy Bernie over here, who he wanted to come say goodbye to you all one last time as well. Really, the reason this means a lot to me is because I know it means a lot to this congregation and its leadership. I want to read what has been lovingly engraved on here. Reverend Jeremy Nickel, with our deepest gratitude, June 20th, 2021, UU Church of Boulder. This will, we've made together this year some beautiful spaces to adorn our virtual worship. And I've continued to keep mine as a nice little sacred space in my office to use whenever I need. And I think this will be getting a place of honor on that. So thank you so much to this congregation, to leadership, to all of you lay members. Really, the pleasure was all mine. Thank you.
We have not had a share our plate partner for June, nor will we have for July and August. We will resume sharing our plate in September with the new group of recipients that we voted for at our last annual meeting. During this month, our total offering is being used to benefit the programs and ministries of UUCB. You can make a donation now using the link posted in the chat, by sending a check directly to UUCB, or by scanning the QR code on the next slide with your mobile phone. Please be as generous as you can. We will now receive the offering. May our gifts be used to enact justice, bringing peace and love to the Boulder Valley. We appreciate your generous support. Thank you.
Love will guide us, peace has tried us, hope inside us will lead the way on the road from greed to giving. Love will guide us through the hard night. If you cannot sing like angels, if you cannot speak before thousands, you can give from deep within you. You can change the world with your love. Love will guide us, peace has tried us, hope inside us will lead the way on the road from greed to giving. Love will guide us through the hard night. Our church family is constantly changing. People come and go. Babies are born. Children grow up. People commit themselves to one another. Loved ones and friends among us come to the end of their lives. Individuals move into our community and church life. Others leave us, moving away to new places, new experiences, and new opportunities. It's important and right that we recognize these times of passages, of endings and beginnings. On August 30th, 2020, this congregation hired Reverend Jeremy Nickel to serve as our lead minister.
I thank the UU congregation of Boulder, its members and friends for the love, kindness, and support shown me these last 10 months. I ask forgiveness for the mistakes I've made. I'm grateful for the ways my leadership has been accepted. As I leave, I carry with me all that I have learned here.
The congregation, please read along with me. The response is in the chat. Reverend Jeremy, we receive your thankfulness, offer forgiveness, and accept that you now leave to minister elsewhere. We express our gratitude for your time among us. We ask your forgiveness for our mistakes. Your influence on our lives will not leave us at your departure.
I forgive you and accept your gratitude, trusting that our time together and our parting are all part of life's evolution.
Congregation, do you, the members and friends of the UU Church of Boulder, release Reverend Jeremy Nickel from the duties of his position?
We do.
We do. Do you offer your encouragement for his ministry, serving his virtual reality spiritual community, Evolver? We do.
We do.
Do you, Reverend Jeremy, release this church from turning to you and depending on you?
I do.
Do you offer your encouragement for the continued ministry here and on the relationship with another who will come to serve?
You better believe I do.
We give thanks for the moments we've shared with Reverend Jeremy in worship, in learning, in service. We pray that his journey will be safe and meaningful as he moves to a new and unknown place. Before we close this leave-taking ritual, there's one more thing to add. You friends and guests, please unmute yourself. That would be the lower left corner of your screen. And switch to gallery view. That would be in the upper right corner of your screen. So we can see all your lovely faces. Reverend Jeremy, we have been so very blessed to have you with us for this weird year together. Please let us bless you in return and thank you for your shared ministry with us. You UC friends and guests, please join me by raising both of your hands in honor of Reverend Jeremy's own style of blessing and saying together, may it be so.
May it be so.
Ashe.
Ashe.
Thank you all.
Well, I guess it would be hypocritical to feel bad that I'm crying.
You're muted.
Gotta unmute there. There we go. Gives me a chance to show off the last little gift I received from your fearless leader, Chris. As we prepare our hearts and minds to return to the world, hear these words of Jack Kerouac, who wrote, quote, "What is that feeling when you're driving away from people and they recede on the plane until you see their specks dispersing? It's the two huge worlds vaulting us, and it's goodbye. But we lean forward to the next crazy venture beneath the skies," unquote. Until we meet again, may it be so. Ashe.
That's okay.
We thank you for joining us this morning. As you can see, Barb has joined me.
I'm Barb Richards. I miss you already, Jeremy. Thank you for everything. Sorry we couldn't be really physically together.
I have two important announcements to make before we go into our Zoom rooms. First is, please remember that next Sunday, June 27th, we will be joining the live streaming Sunday worship from the UUA General Assembly. And most importantly, this service will begin at 10 a.m., 1/2 hour earlier. You use the same link that you used today to log in, and someone will be here to help those that forget. And during the breakout which follows will be our monthly Your Board is Listening session. However, for this morning, Reverend Nickel has agreed to stay during this time so that you will have another opportunity to speak with him. We do ask that you remain muted when others are speaking. Your invitation to join a smaller group in a breakout room for a time of fellowship and conversation should appear shortly. Have a wonderful week, everyone.